mommies and poppies? It's Yawnie, your DJ and dance junkie with today's dose of the dime right here on the Batchelor News Radio Network. So I wanted to take a moment to make sure that you guys know that if you ever want to see any of my older recordings or even just check out the website to see what other DJs may be playing, you can go to thebatchelornews.airtime.pro, and there are several other DJs with a lot of content that definitely you might want to check out, you might like, you might vibe. Definitely what we want to see here. And speaking of vibe, I wanted to remind you that the whole goal of a dose of the dime is for us to work on ourselves, to try and heal, to try and shift our perspectives, and then just to vibe, just to be easy, just to settle into the newness of being healed, okay? So definitely heal, shift, vibe is always going to be where I'm at, and I'm hoping that you're joining me here. And thank you for joining me here today. You could be anywhere else and you're here with me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Facebook family, and thank you, StreamYard family. I'm so glad that you guys are here. So I do want to remind you that I am a licensed master of social work. I do practice therapy, and I am a certified life coach, and I do have a prospering practice that I am happy to share with you guys. I use this platform to talk about relationships because I feel like love, if nothing else, is the most important thing and is what can heal us. So definitely want to make sure that we are on that wavelength and trying to learn how to love ourselves, learn how to heal ourselves, learn how to move forward, learn how to shift, and definitely, of course, learn how to vibe. So definitely, if you have any topics that you want me to maybe kind of delve into or bring up, please hit me on any form of my social media, because I have all forms of social media. I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have TikTok, I also have Twitter. I don't use it as much, but I'm there. And definitely I have YouTube. So definitely, if you want to check me out on any of those forms of social media, you're welcome to do so. And I am thankful once again that you guys have joined me here. So I did want to touch base. I have my own website that I have blogs, and I have podcasts, and of course you can reach out to me there too. But definitely I also have merchandise if you guys want to check it out. It's kind of fun, kind of flashy. We're all dime pieces over here. But anyway, we are coming off of a pink full moon. So over the weekend, of course, it was Easter Sunday, and I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday, and I hope you guys stay safe and was feeling all full of love and prosperous spring tidings. But definitely it was a pink full moon. So what does that mean? Okay, so the full moon is a time for us to think about the things that we have going on and how to move forward, and not necessarily in a let's set an intention type of way, but more so in a, hey, let's see what we can remove out of our way. Let's move obstacles out of our way. Let's move forward in a positive, loving way. And let's remove things that are in our way to keep us from our destiny. So definitely these are things that we want to think about. So like for me, I wanted to remove some fear. I needed to remove some obstacles from my life, and I had to put that energy out there. But definitely with the pink full moon, anything dealing with emotion and love, any hints or gestures or pushes towards your love life or whatever is going on in that area, you want to move forward on that, because those are real things. Definitely, if you are interested, we do have a Facebook group. It is a Dose of the Dime. It is a public Facebook group, and you're welcome to join me. That's where my friends are checking me out on Facebook when I go live there. But I post questions, hot topics, and I always want your input on it, because of course your input is what drives the show. I want to know where everybody's at and what people are thinking and how we can move forward together. Like I said, trying to understand the opposite sex just a little bit more in love. And even if you're one of my Alphabet Mafia LGBTQ plus people, how do we understand ourselves and how do we move forward in love, of course, right? So definitely, if you're watching me on StreamYard, please feel free to put down any questions or comments or anything that you want to ask. If I have time, definitely in the broadcast, I will absolutely make sure that I answer it. But definitely we want to stay within the time frame that we've been allowed. So do want to make sure that that's there, but you have all the opportunity to ask me questions. And of course, on Facebook, you also have the opportunity to ask me questions too. So definitely let's talk about our hot topics for last week. So last week I posted a couple of things, and there were a lot of interesting things that we talked about. So the number one thing I thought was pretty cool, I asked if the sex was bad. If you guys were not vibing sexually, but you vibed on every other level, like he treated you like a queen, or like she was the utmost respectful to you. I mean, like the vibes between you guys were like no other, but the sex was off. Would you stay? And so what a lot of people jumped into the comment section, and of course, I have the statistics for you. Now, men were of course, I mean, they were where you would normally think they would be. Majority of them said yes, that they would stay, but with caveats. So let's talk about it. 33% of men said no, they would not stay if the sex was not gratifying, if the sex was not there, because of course there's that opportunity or that mental mindset to maybe that they would cheat. And that's what a lot of them said. 6% said they would stay but cheat. But the rest of them said no, to keep from cheating. I would not want to participate in a relationship where the sex was not good. So 48% said yes, that they would stay. But here's the funny part, and what's really funny is because Samantha Steele pointed this out. A lot of men who are obviously the age range of the group varies, but a lot of men were talking about eventually that their member was going to eventually stop working. So the sex was not as important as you get older as it is when you were younger. So that I thought was very interesting. And I would like to know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah, a couple of men said that on there, that eventually that their member was going to start working. So sex was not as important as being on the same wavelength and vibing and being emotionally connected, which I can understand that. I can absolutely dig that, right? So here's a fun part. 6% said they would try polyamory, and they would talk their significant other into maybe trying polyamory just because they wanted to make sure that both parties were satisfied sexually. And I think to a certain extent that is not a bad idea. Okay, hear me out. All right, so women on the flip side, of course, 19% said no, they would not stay if the sex was bad, but you vibed on every other level. 19% said across the board no. Okay, but one person said they would try polyamory, which of course is an opening caveat into different things. All right, but then 81% of women said yes, that they would stay with the man if for whatever reason they vibed on every other level. He treated her like a queen, but sexually they were not vibing. But then, of course, of the 81%, 32% of them said, that they can help, they can teach, they can help their guy get to where it is that they need to be so that they can climax together. Of course, there were a lot of talk about toys, so definitely something that you want to think about. I don't know. Have you ever had a situation where you did not vibe sexually? And what did you do? I'm really kind of curious to know that. So keeping that moving. So last week, we talked about attachment styles. And we talked about attachment styles because we were going to go into this conversation about why it is that we stay in relationships that are toxic, and what is it that makes our relationships so toxic, and why it is that we have certain habits in our relationships that make us do stupid stuff, for lack of better words, or make other people in the relationship with us do stupid stuff. Why do we keep picking the same person over and over and over again? Like, what is the deal with that, right? So what we know for sure is that our attachment style, and our attachment is based on what happens when we're, younger, like when we're kitties. What happens with our parents, from watching our parents, how they vibed with us, how they vibed with each other, and that we saw. So what they talked about was basically, it's the reason that we are the way that we are. There's absolutely 4 attachment styles, and someone can argue that there might be 8 because there's always that in-between space, but definitely there's a reason why sometimes we drive people away from us, why we self-sabotage, and then of course why we run to people who self-sabotage. There's something you need to think about. So the 4 styles are anxious attachment, which is the clingy person. That's the person that's going to text you 1,000,000 times in one sitting. Okay. These are things that we all can work on, obviously. within our power. Everything that I mentioned here is something that we can work on. And obviously, if you want to hear more of that, let me know and we'll work on that. Avoiding attachment, those are the people that'll go ghost. You will say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, and they're out. They're done. They're not coming back. Then there's the third one, which is a combination of anxious attachment and avoidant attachment, which is actually worse. Okay. It is called fearful avoidant attachment, or you can call it disorganized. And unfortunately, this is most of us. This is most of us in radio land and, in Facebook land. It's made us, we are created this way by trauma, whether it be trauma from our parents, whether it be trauma from a relationship, because that can also happen too. But it's that hot cold, it's that push pull, it's that, oh, I really, really, really dig him and I'm really, really into him. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, now I'm too into him. I'm going to have to go away. I'm going to have to put some space in between us. Now, I'm notorious for doing that. And the part about knowing your attachment style is that once you know your attachment style, you can work on it. So I know I'm fearful avoidant. So I know that I will get random strange feelings to be like, I'm okay. They texted me too fast, so I'm not going to text them for the rest of the day. And it's a random thing that happens. So when you know your attachment style, then you can start working on yourself and say, okay, listen, is that really what you want to do? Are you sabotaging yourself? Is there really evidence that they're cheating? All of these things, definitely you want to continue to work on with yourself, because once you know, then you can help yourself. But you got to identify which style you are, right? Okay, so once we get what we perceive that we need, we will leave or self-sabotage so that they'll leave. That's happened too. So, okay, a good way to think about a fearful avoidant person is we all seen that meme where the girl has moved on with her life and she's moving forward, and then that guy will text her 2 months out after not having talked to her at all, hey, I miss you, and mess everything up for her. That's absolutely an example of a fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment style. They will randomly, because they do want a relationship, but they don't know how to maintain it. They do want to be with you, but they don't know how to stay with you. So it's a hot, cold, push, pull all the time. But again, once you know who you are, that way you can start to make moves to heal yourself, to shift yourself, and of course, to vibe, right? So definitely, then the last one, of course, is our secure attachment. A secure attachment is really basically a healthy attachment. They got everything they needed growing up as children. They saw healthy relationships in their when they were growing up, and they didn't need too much. So now when they're in relationships, they're looking for someone who communicates. They're looking for someone who is honest and sincere. They're not trying to push you away. They're not panicking when you don't call. These are the types of people that are secure. Unfortunately, as it stands now, they are the minority. I know I don't need to tell you guys this because a lot of you guys are single and or have friends that are single that are going through drama right now, messing with these types of situations. So I definitely understand. So these type of attachment styles, they can change if you work on it. Again, we got to know who we are. Once we know who we are, then definitely you can start to work on yourself so you can change your relationship or your relationship style. So like therapy, absolutely, but not everybody can afford that. But you can afford a self-help book, and in Yellow Van Zandt book. There are several self-help books that are out there. And if anybody wants or is curious, I can recommend some that were helpful to me in working with what it is that I had going on. But definitely your willingness to want to change, to want to have healthy relationships, and to want to improve yourself. These are things that are 100% going to help you across the board get to a place where you can be healthy in a relationship, right? Okay. So drama and damage can turn somebody who has a secure attachment into somebody who is something other. So definitely, if you're in this relationship and you go and you see that this is not exactly what you want, that's the time you need to start making moves. So that kind of brings me to my point, is why do we start picking these partners? And why do we end up with these partners? And it ends up being the same person with a different face. Or as my daughter would say, my daughter says it differently. She says it's the same word, but a different font. why is it that we continue to be in this pathway and stay with these people who are not necessarily good for us? Okay, so before I get into that, because we got a nice little long list to go with that, I want to take 2 minutes to thank the man and talk to you about the Feature Album Friday. Feature Album Friday is on Friday. There's an artist, they play like 30 minutes of their whole discography, and it's really kind of cool. You can tune into thebatchelornews.airtime.pro. You can listen to it, like I said, on Friday. It's going to be 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So definitely check that out, vibe to it. And this Friday is going to be Jade. Now, those of you who were from the 90s, who are Gen Xers, because I'm a Gen Xer, but those of you that are Gen Xers, absolutely, Jade is the one. Don't walk away from me, boy. That's the song. That was a song of a summer. I have vivid, fond memories of Jade. And let me tell you, that was the summer. So definitely check that out on thebatchelornews.airtime.pro. And also they have another thing that they do is called Whisper Softly. And what it is like their version of the Quiet Storm. So what they'll do is they'll play mellow, soft, magical music that you can set your whole tone of your house to. And it's from 8 to midnight, Sunday through Friday. So that's definitely something that, you might want to do just to kind of put it on in your household and let it fill the air with some sultry, sexy, sassy, sensual sounds that can just bathe the entire house, right? So definitely check that out again on the batchelornews.airtime.pro. Give us about 5 minutes, or I'm sorry, not 5 minutes. Give me about 30 seconds and let us pay the man. And I hope to see you right back right here on the Bachelor's Radio Network.
Having trouble with math or science homework? Call Rose Holman Institute of Technology's Homework Hotline, a free math and science tutoring service for Indiana students in grades 6 to 12. Call toll-free 1-877-ASK-ROSE from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday through Thursday. And a Rose Holman college student will help you with your math or science questions. The tutors are patient, smart, and pretty cool. Remember, it's a free service and a free call. That's 1-877-ASK-ROSE or visit askrose.org.
Hey, hola, mommies and poppies. It's Yawnie, your DJ and dance junkie, here with today's dose of the dime. So we wanted to get into some of the reasons why it is that we stay in these relationships, even though we know they're not healthy for us. Okay, so let's be realistic. There's only one real reason why this happens, and it's fear. 100% across the board. Most of our emotions come out of fear or love. Okay, so hate comes out of fear. Hope comes out of love. Sadness comes out of fear. Excitement comes out of love. So there's only two real emotions, and they come from either fear or love. So definitely all of our emotions can be traced back to those emotions. So what does fear have to do with why it is that we stay? Okay, so it's the same reason why we'll stay in a job where the boss treats us ugly, or we don't get enough money, or we don't get any respect. It's the same reason that we stay there, because we don't feel like we can get a better job, or we feel like if we leave this job, we don't know where. It's a fear of the unknown, right? So many of us have stayed in relationships that we somewhere in some space and time knew they were not the right relationships for us. You knew somewhere in your heart of hearts that this person was not going to be the right person for you, right? So why do we stay? Fear tells us, lock this person down, or you might be alone forever, right? And that's not the message that we want to get. Fear tells us that it's better to be in an unhappy relationship than it is to be by yourself. I'm here to tell you, I would be single forever and a day if it meant that I could be out of a miserable relationship, because miserable relationship will make you feel alone when you're not alone. But I've been in situations where I've been single and been with friends and felt so covered and helped and loved. So definitely make sure that you understand that being in an unhappy, unhealthy relationship does not make you loved or wanted or respected. It does not. Okay. So some of the things that we're going to talk about. So another thing that might be going on is you lacking confidence in yourself, or for lack of better words, you don't know your worth. This is a big, huge thing. So a lot of people want to go, well, I have high self-esteem. That's great. please understand, self-esteem is not a destination. It's not a place that you get to, you arrive at, oh, I'm here. That's not what self-esteem is. Self-esteem is unfortunately, it's a continuum, like an arc. And some days you wake up really, really high and everything is vibing and you feel good and you wear that outfit and oh my God, yeah. But then there are some days when you're not, you're low, you're really, really low. And those are the days that you need to take extra special care of yourself because you have extra stuff that's going to go on. Okay, so here's the thing. It's not just days. Sometimes it's weeks. Sometimes it might even be months. And depending on where you are in your development, you can attract people to yourself being in that low state. We always talk about the law of attraction and what we attract to us. We think of yourself as like a radio station. If you turn the dial on your radio station to the hip hop station, you're not going to hear country. So if your dial is way down here in low self-esteem, you're going to attract to yourself someone who probably is not on the higher end of the self-esteem spectrum. So what does that mean? Okay. So, low moments can allow you to attract relationships that seem like they're the answer. Oh my God, this is going to be it. They're going to love me. They're going to fill my void. They're going to, I'm going to be a part of something. I'm going to be a team with this person. And it might seem that way in the beginning, but here's the thing. They can fool you into thinking that you have found a catch. But as their representative continues to move around, then you understand that this may not be what I thought it was. But you won't blame them. You'll blame the relationship because you attracted that relationship down here. And so now you're accepting treatment that you did not want, but you're going to believe that you deserved it because your self-esteem is still down here. Again, that's why I'm saying sometimes when you're in that space, it is not a good time to date. When you are healing, it is not a good time to date. It is a time to start reflecting on who you are, what you bring to the table, and how to get your space, get yourself together so that you can be in a space where you're attracting over here, where you're attracting, I hate this word, but the high value people. I hate that. Oh God, it's so sad. But nonetheless, you do want to get to a place where you're not accepting piss poor treatment and you understand what good value is, what being loved really feels like, right? So definitely that's something that you want to take. If you're in a space where you have low self-esteem, you might want to take a break from trying to attract or trying to date. Okay, so some other things that keep us stuck in this position or keep us in these ugly relationships or keep us attracting the same people is pressure. We get pressure from society, but many of us grew up wanting the husband, wanting the wife, wanting to, because I know I'm going to go to, graduate, and then I'm going to maybe I'll go to college, but definitely I'll get a job, and then I'm going to marry, and then I'm going to have kids, because this is all we've ever known. This is all that's been set out for us. So this is what we believe that is going to go on for us, right? So as we get older and some of these things don't happen, then we start looking at ourselves like, well, what's wrong with me? Why don't I have this person? Or why have I not gotten married? Or better yet, look at people who have been married and they want kids and they're trying to have kids and they don't have kids and there's something going on. They tend to blame themselves. They tend to beat up on themselves and they tend to do extreme things to get children. So do understand, this is not just about marriage. This is about relationships, period. So if you've not had somebody to say, this is my woman or this is my man, sometimes it makes us feel like, well, nobody wants me. And that's the ugly feeling that we want to stay out of, again, way down here. And the reason why we want to stay out of that is because that's where we'll start scrutinizing what it is that we accept. We'll start lowering our standards. We'll start settling for partners who will not buy into the fact that we are awesome, wonderful, spectacular individuals. And we'll start to settle for less. And we'll be okay to be miserable because we got somebody. And that's where we don't want to be. 100% you don't want to be there. Another part of the reason that keeps us stuck is being in our comfort zones. Now, what does that mean? It means most of the time that we've dated somebody and it was a good space for a while, but then something went wrong, something happened, and then all of a sudden we're no longer in that space. and we end up breaking up. So comfort zone people basically don't require you to level up. Comfort zone people don't require you to go to grow. And that can be a problem too. So if you're not growing and they're not growing, you guys are stagnating together. And that's not a good space to be in, okay? It's one of the reasons why you can't move further, because you went back to this comfort zone because it felt good for that moment. But humans are meant to grow and change. And that's why sometimes you feel stuck. So here's one of the biggest reasons why we end up attracting the same person to us is based on what we call trauma bonds. And I don't know if anybody is familiar with that, but let's talk about it. It's allowing our inner child to pick our mates. So many of us have had trauma in the past. We had parents that, we basically base our love on what it is that we have seen. So if our parents fought all the time, or if our parents were ugly to each other, this is what we learn as love. We learn what it is that we see. So if our brothers and our sisters are ugly to each other, if they're ugly to their mates, and we see this and we take it in, this is what we learn to be love. So that's why it's when we talk about how do we change what's going on with our children and with marriages now, it's basically we have to start really modeling love to our children. We have to model love to the community, because that's the only way things are going to shift and change. The problem is that many of us have gotten so stuck with our partners that we're not able to do that. Okay. So what does that mean? Okay. Those who have parents who love each other, and it's how they love each other, and then how they loved us. Okay. So naturally we're attracted to things, sadly, that have hurt us in the past. So for instance, angry parents that go off over little things, they're going to create a child that is guilty, that feels guilty because I made mommy and daddy angry. I don't want to do that. So what happens with this child is, so they end up growing up and attracting a mate that is easily angered. It seems crazy, but it's absolutely the truth. Okay. So what happens is it's almost like a generational curse. So the person was in a family where a parent was easily angered. And so every time they got angered, the child felt guilty. Well, what did I do? I need to make sure that they feel okay. And they would bend over backwards, people pleasing, trying to make that parent feel okay. Same thing with their mate. They will uninstinctively find someone who is easily angered. And then when they get angered, oh my gosh, I need to make sure that they're okay. And we do this sadly all the time. So we need to examine within ourselves what it is that makes us attract these type of people, and what red flags do I need to look for so that I don't attract this person again. Okay, so what about vice versa? The child of a parent that's like fragile. Maybe they got bullied. Maybe they were sickly. Maybe they were always down. And so the kid always tried to make them feel better. You will end up attracting a mate that you almost always have to take care of, that you always have to protect. This is the way trauma bonds work. Trauma bonds work in a way so that you will unintentionally attract the very thing that you despised growing up. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the only thing that you'll ever attract, because it won't. You'll eventually attract something else, but you do have to work on yourself in order to get there. Okay. So what does that mean? So for most of us, it just means absolutely sitting down, thinking about what it was that we saw in the past, what it was that we saw happening in our families, and deciding that this is not what we're going to decide. We're not going to have this. We have to also set our boundaries to a space where we don't accept what was given to us earlier. So what does that mean? So somebody else said, that they speak their boundaries. And I'm always telling people what my boundaries are. No, you don't have to tell people what your boundaries are. Basically, you can just enforce your boundaries. You don't have to tell people anything. If you refuse to participate into a relationship where somebody else at you, you can easily just walk away. I'm sorry, I can't do this. I mean, obviously, if there's somebody that you care about and you see these red flags, you want to give them a warning. Hey, we communicate over here. We apologize and we change over here. But definitely, if they don't hear that warning and you have told them, then yeah, it is time to enforce your boundary and walk away. You don't have to keep telling them, oh, you're stepping all over my boundaries, because by doing that, you're literally just allowing them to do that. So make sure that you don't just tell people your boundaries, but that you enforce them too. And that means sometimes we do have to get up and walk away. Now, I do this on a regular. I listen to different psychologists and social workers and people who deal with, therapy, definitely the life coaches, because I want to make sure that I'm always on top of things that are going on. So we talk about, we pick these same people. We pick these same mates. It ends up being the same person with a different face. There is a psychologist that's saying that we don't necessarily have to walk away from them. Now, I don't 100% agree with that, because I feel like if somebody is damaging your person, you need to move around. But they're saying that there are ways to combat the things that they do by, instead of choosing your inner child's emotion, you choose an adult emotion. For instance, they said somebody who's getting angry and they're raising their voice, the inner child wants to go, oh my God, it's my fault. They're mad. They're angry. But the adult response is, this is their issue. They are angry. This is not my fault. And I don't have to feel bad. Now, that's absolutely taking yourself out of the equation and absolutely setting a boundary. But here's my thing that I wonder, if you continue to do this, are they going to stay? Because just like you have trauma bonded with them based on trauma that you've been through, they also have trauma that they went through, which is the reason why they act the way that they do. So there are things that you can do, like for instance, the attracting a mate that maybe always messes stuff up. And so the inner child goes, oh my God, so stop, wait, I'll fix it for you. I'll fix it for you. I got you. I'm okay. We'll make sure this happens. But the more adult response is, I'll do what I can, but this is your thing to fix and I will help you fix it. But we have to problem solve together. We don't fix, I'm not going to fix this for you. You have to fix it yourself, right? There are more adult responses that you could take. And then again, my question is, if you do this for the person that you're with, are they going to stay? Because they're not getting their inner child fed either. That's the question. Woo, that's a heavy one too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap that up. We talked about attachment styles, and we had talked about definitely why are some of the reasons why we continue to choose the people that we choose. And I'm going to go a little further and say a major reason is because we don't stop to heal. We want to go from one person to the next, and you don't learn a lesson in that. You have to learn a lesson. So how do you spot when somebody is the same person if you didn't even learn what that person was doing to you? You have got to take the time to heal yourself before you move forward in anybody's relationship. And the rule of thumb, and I always say, please extend this by another 6 months. But for every year that you're with a person, you need to spend a month alone. And again, I'm saying to you, my personal opinion, you need to extend that. So if you spent 6 years with a person, you should spend 6 months by yourself. I would say maybe even take it to 9 months. Just take it a little longer. Take the time to make sure that you're okay and that you can move forward happily. All right, guys, that is my time. I did want to leave you with an affirmation. The partner I seek is also seeking me, and I release all all obstacles so that they can find me. The partner I seek is also seeking me, and I release all obstacles so that they can find me. Guys, be blessed. Thank you for joining me right here on the Batchelor News Radio Network.